Hello and welcome to Innovations in Business Technology. I'm your host, Troy McCauley, and today our show is sponsored by our hosts, Atlantic IT of Somerset, New Jersey. We will hear from them later on in the episode. So, today our topic, as you can see below, is the top 5 innovations in technology that we expect to see in 2018. Obviously, there's a lot of estimation that goes along with this, but every one of these trends is something that has very strong underlying fundamentals, and these are things that have been growing over the last few years quite a bit. So the idea that any one of these 5 will see a real breakthrough in 2018 is something pretty reasonable to expect. So we'll go ahead and start with the first. Now, these are not so much in order of importance, it's just the 5 top items that I think, and most of the research that I've done indicates the same from sources like Gartner, from IBM, Fortune, Engadget. All of them had every one of these items, and I picked the 5 that seem to be on most lists most consistently. And one thing that we're going to see a little bit repeated here is the idea of the blockchain. The blockchain being the technology that underlies Bitcoin. So obviously, with the explosion and subsequent crash of Bitcoin towards the end of 2017 and the beginning of 2018, there's a lot of conversation about what part of that technology is going to carry forward. Is Bitcoin itself going to make a difference? Is just the underlying blockchain technology going to be what continues? There's a lot of uncertainty there. But there's a few areas that pretty much everyone agrees that the underlying technology, blockchain, is going to make a difference. And the first of those is Internet of Things. So Internet of Things is the idea of a unified internet of individual nodes and items. Those items could be anything like, your wearable watch to your Alexa Echo speaker at home, your Sonos to your washing machine or your refrigerator or your car. All of these things having internet connectivity and providing information and data back and forth to a centralized data hub. In the case of a home, that might be something like Apple's HomeKit, which manages everything to do with your home. Or it could be, mentioning again, the Alexa or Google Assistant ecosystems, where Alexa is always listening, always paying attention to anything that you order whenever you speak her name. And this builds a profile of you so that Amazon will have a better idea of what you want, what you need, what they should offer you, specials that you would be interested in. Automakers are going to be using this quite a bit, because not only is it important for the automaker to be able to provide you information so that you can get in your car and your car will immediately and seamlessly connect with your mobile and your tablet and your laptop and your wearable for your own convenience. But from the automaker, more importantly, they want the car to be able to connect to the gas station or to the convenience store that you're passing, to your dealer, to the highway patrol. All of these things to make sure that you, the driver, are safe, that any urgent emergencies you're aware of. If there's a crash coming up, you're notified of it. A good example of that very early would be the app Waze. It's a traffic app that shares the data from all of the people who are using Waze at all times. And if you've ever driven using it, you'll remember those times where you're driving up and it'll say, warning, car stopped on road ahead, police ahead, 0.3 miles, accident ahead, hazard on road, red light camera. All these things to make your driving situation better. And all that information is shared across the board. So what blockchain is going to be able to do is ease one of the most serious concerns that people have when they're talking about Internet of Things, and that is security. If all of my data is being shared through all of these systems, that can be a little terrifying for a lot of people. The idea of having a microphone in your house with an AI attached to it listening to everything you do just so it hears its name. So that means it's listening all the time, and it may not be recording until you say its name, but a lot of people don't trust that. So what blockchain allows developers to do is to place a trackable, encrypted, and secure ledger record of every single event on any of these devices. Basically, creating a tag in the cloud of every moment in time, every activity, every event, so that it can be found, but also more importantly, so that it can be secured. And what the combination of these two will do is allow these Internet of Things devices to communicate a lot more effectively, because because a blockchain standard is basically it's the same no matter who you're talking to, no matter which device is doing it. If they're all if they're all connected into a similar blockchain, then your phone will be able to talk to your car about an exact specific moment or time, and they'll be able to know it and track it and record it. Whether it's 3 years from now, you're going in for an oil change, you want to know, when did I get my last oil change? It'll be able to tell you exactly where, when, what were all the issues that happened during that oil change, just for an example. The last time I took a trip to Toronto, how long did it take? How much gas did I spend? All of those events will be instantly trackable and recordable. And again, these are just examples. Automobile technology is one that will probably be first along this line, because we're also going to be going into vehicles that drive themselves. But I'm going to go ahead and move on from this particular item. There's a short video that we'll move on to, and then we'll go on to our next item.
As the Internet of Things continues to grow at a rapid rate, sensors and devices are becoming more commonplace to communicate information. In business networks, where data such as location, temperature, or other properties need to be shared, a permissioned blockchain ledger can help create a tamper-evident record. This opens up new ways of automating business processes among partners without having to set up a costly, centralized IT infrastructure, and all participants have access to the same data. Let's look at how supply chains benefit when data is shared through a permissioned blockchain. The IoT-enabled package transmits required status information as it passes through multiple carriers. The business contract specifies the conditions that must be met during the shipment from the factory to the grocery store, and all parties must adhere to the terms of the contract. A temperature sensor embedded in the package stores the data locally and sends it to the blockchain through the Watson IoT platform at waypoints upon receiving connectivity. Information is shared across all peers. In this example, both Carrier 1 and Carrier 2 met the contractual obligations, and the shipment arrived at its final destination without exposure to excess temperatures. Using blockchain allowed all business partners to access the same temperature data without requiring central control. The result? A happy customer with peace of mind about the food in his or her cart.
Okay, so I hope that was a little informative. After each of these, I did find a video online that I think highlights that particular technology or trend a little bit and provides a little bit more insight. And also kind of breaks up just watching me talking to a camera for 20 minutes, right? So the next thing that we have is the FinTech Renaissance, or the Financial Technology Renaissance. And what this is the combination of basic financial technology and, once again, the blockchain. Now, this doesn't so much mean what a lot of people thought it was going to mean 5 years ago, that banks are going to start using Bitcoin. That trend seems to be almost guaranteed not to happen, as using cryptocurrencies themselves for financial transactions has been pretty heavily frowned upon by South Korea, China, the United States now, and the EU, all getting into more heavily regulation of cryptocurrencies as far as financial transactions. But the underlying technology, the blockchain, is something that those same financial institutions are jumping onto, because what allows them to do is get rid of the middlemen in the financial game. What most people don't know is that multiple trillions of dollars a year are spent just on those financial fees for every transaction. That 1.5% transaction fee that happens every time you make an ATM, or every time you make a debit card payment, or every time you make a credit card payment, whatever you're doing, anytime, even if you transfer funds from one bank to another through SWIFT or through a wire transfer, there are middlemen that are basically handling that ledger, especially internationally. And what a lot of banks have already begun to do, Santander, for example, has already begun to utilize a blockchain technology called Ripple to handle the financial transfers internationally within their banks, as they have banks in 11 countries between Asia, Europe, and North America. That's very important. So a lot of other banks that have a large international footprint are already moving into this, and the local banks are realizing that having the ability to make a financial transaction happen in seconds, as opposed to happen in 2 days in some cases with a SWIFT transaction, is a huge benefit. And it enables them at some point to be able to have an alternative technology that not have to be beholden to the credit card companies and those financial transactions and the extremely burdensome fees that are charged in that case. So there's going to be a lot of lobbying and a lot of litigation on that, but I'm sure. But that is definitely something. This is a little bit more risky. That this might be a little bit early for it really to hit hard in 2018, but 2017 already showed a significant number of enterprise scale companies putting their toe in the water when it comes to changing the way that financial markets are being handled. And it's not just blockchain, it's also things like AI, chatbot payments. But we do expect to see a lot of modification. And one last thing I'll throw when it comes to financial tech is the fact that overseas, in India and China in particular, their model has already shifted completely to a model almost a cashless society, operating entirely with cash app transactions, basically paying for everything through instant messenger style chat applications and chatbots that operate within them and interact with the vendor and interact with other people. So as 2/3 of the world's population is already moving in that way, the fact that the rest of us will probably be following them is almost inevitable. So I have another quick video which emphasizes and goes a little bit, I hope summarizes all of this, and then we'll come back with our number 3.
Key trends in 2017.
And what do you see for 2018? What are some of the challenges and greatest opportunities in fintech?
2018 will see some blockchain projects go into production live. Very eager to see that because it's been quite a while now with all the hype around blockchain. But we do think that 2018 will be the first year of live work on blockchain, except, of course, Bitcoin, which is what everybody knows.
Well, what are some of the examples of the project that will potentially be going live?
You will see blockchain implementations around topics like trade finance, debt syndication, post-trade settlement. Yeah.
Right. So is there a unique focus on financial services as it relates to blockchain?
I think financial services is probably the biggest industry where blockchain can be applied and leveraged. There are others as well, land titles and other things, but everything from trade settlement, everything from trade finance, debt syndication, mortgage origination and processing. Yes, many places where blockchain can be applied.
How does blockchain make it a more efficient process for financial services?
It removes the duplication of data. So things are seamlessly, data is seamlessly replicated between different systems. The level of security and trust that you can have in a blockchain system is unprecedented. So those are some of the benefits.
So longer term, let's look 5 to 10 years out. What do you see in terms of longer term trends for fintech?
I think especially so. Blockchain will become mainstream in the next 10 years. It will take some time, but it will become mainstream. In artificial intelligence, you'll see a lot of work. Right now, in the early days, it's more basic automation of existing processes. In 2018 and onwards, you will see companies leveraging really advanced cognitive solutions to implement new ways of doing fraud detection, anti-money laundering, customer analytics, generating natural language through machine, not written by a person.
It almost seems as if we're in the data collection phase right now, and now we have to figure out what to do with all this data. Is that what the longer term goal is?
Yes. Whoever has the data and whoever can mine the data for insights and actionable intelligence will win.
So that's like either blockchain 2.0 or the next thing.
Well, that's
blockchain.
more data science.
Right.
Yeah, you can mix blockchain and AI and data science down the road, but right now it's all about creating that data science capability so you can understand and predict what customers are going to do, who is going to possibly buy a house in the future, so that you can start selling mortgages to them ahead of time before somebody else does. A lot of implications in the wealth side as well to help people manage their wealth better.
Wow. I mean, you think when you think about something in your head and then it pops up online in an advertisement, that's kind of cool, but this sounds like
spooky.
It's just going to change everything. Well, thank you very much, Faisal, for joining us.
Thank you very much.
And as always, thank you for joining me. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at NASDAQ.
Okay, and number 3, we have augmented reality. Now, augmented reality is something that a lot of people have heard about. Most people have heard mostly in regards to when it comes to virtual reality, which is, the big headset on your face and going into another virtual world. The upcoming movie Ready Player One will be a great example of what we expect virtual reality to be within the next 10 years or so. But what augmented reality is a combination of those things. It's also called mixed reality, and that is a situation where you're seeing the regular world, but whether it's through glasses or whether it's through just looking through your mobile device and seeing items overlaid up on the real world's images, it's adding digital information into the real world. Now, the enterprise has already moved very heavily towards this, and the video that I'll show you after this conversation from SAP will show how, from an enterprise perspective, augmented reality really adds a lot to what an individual's capability can be in the field. But we're very soon going to see augmented reality come for hospitality, for medicine, for advertising in a number of different ways. And both Google and Apple have already implemented significant AR tools into the devices, and the first AR apps from both have been clumsy and mostly games and a few things where you can put furniture in your room or do measuring, and so things are moving a little bit slower than people or myself might have expected last year. But all those tools are already in place, and a lot of developers are putting a lot of money into finding good commercial uses, good consumer uses, and the enterprise uses are already in place. So I think we'll see the idea that augmented reality goes mainstream really will hit. What will take it all the way really depends on the success of companies like Magic Leap, who has a augmented reality headset, and Microsoft's HoloLens. If they can, as they expect, get an actual consumer product out into the real world this year, I think we'll start to see people really realize the utility of augmented reality. We're still 3, 4, 5 years away from an Apple version of an eyeglasses, for instance, something that is, not a fashion and disaster, something that is socially acceptable to wear in public and relatively transparent and easy to use. But the early applications, I think we'll see already. You'll see a lot of people probably by the end of next year wearing an augmented reality headset in the office, because basically it turns the entire world around them into an infinite set of computer screens, and it allows you to overlay information on the real world. And that SAP video you'll see in a minute will really give an idea of how that works. But this is definitely something to take a look into and to be watching for going into 2018. So we'll watch that video from SAP, and then we'll come back with number 4.
With the adoption of wearable technology and the advancements in contextual awareness solutions, enterprises now have the opportunity to untether their workers with augmented reality solutions.
In the future, all the devices are becoming much more portable, and our technology needs even better ways of interacting with us, and integrating augmented reality capabilities on our applications really simplifies the work and ensures that safety is kept at the highest standards.
We see that this will basically revolutionize the way some of the maintenance and warehouse picking and retail execution scenarios.
The business benefit is improved productivity, improved safety, and basically just enabling scenarios that would be absolutely impossible nowadays.
I guess what we would see in the future is the camera that we have here on the screen will basically overlay exactly what you currently see. So you can imagine many different scenarios where you just look at objects and you would have information relevant to what you see right now and right here. So many things are possible now with augmented reality. When you think about it, we live in a world where we have 3D things. The human brain is able to recognize objects, but we never really had those capabilities in mobile phone. So now with augmented reality, we can do so much more things. We can really go the next step, and there's lots of innovation possible.
Okay, so number 4 is a trend that's been going on for quite some time. A lot of people thought it would massively break in 2017. Did not quite hit that in the enterprise, but it's a subtle trend because you may not see it, and that's chatbots or AI bots in general. Now, when people say bots, most people think of the android data in Star Trek or Robbie the Robot, back in the day. But what bots are now really are sophisticated chat interfaces. One of the most well-known bots that you run into is Alexa. Alexa is a chatbot, an incredibly sophisticated chatbot that allows you to interact with her with a conversational tone and ask her to perform tasks. Whether that task is, Alexa, can you order me some more dog food? And the next day, your dog's food magically appears in front of your door and your credit card is charged and it's done seamlessly, right? To Alexa, turn on the lights downstairs, or Alexa, turn the heater to winter mode. These are all things that it can do. To Alexa, what's the weather tomorrow? Alexa, book me tickets for the movie I want to see at our regular theater tomorrow afternoon. Alexa will interact back in a regular conversational tone. And you're seeing that in, Facebook is implementing chatbots quite a bit. A lot of times when you go to a website and you're talking to that customer service chat, at this point, about 90% of the time, those first 5, 6, 7 interactions with that are with an AI chatbot. In many cases, if your questions are simple, that's all you need. Domino's Pizza, for instance, implemented a really interesting chatbot last year where you go to Facebook, you can order a pizza, and it's just like you're talking to a regular person. Hi, I want a pizza. What do you want? I'd like a medium pepperoni with extra cheese. Do you want any side orders with that? Do you want it to go to your regular delivery address on file? Fantastic, it'll be there in so and so minutes. And in that entire interaction, it went just as if they had called someone and ordered the pizza by phone. But it didn't require a phone call, and it didn't require someone to be stopping what they're doing, running over to the phone and slowing down service. So chatbots are going to continue to get more sophisticated. They're going to continue to get easier to implement and cheaper to implement. There are a number of chatbot services now that cost as little as a Netflix subscription and still enable a company to put on their website or their mobile app or on their Facebook page the ability to fully interact all the way through and past completion of a purchase in many cases. And this is just going to get bigger and bigger. And the idea that we're about to hit that tipping point with the improvement of capabilities like IBM's Watson AI engine being made available to even small businesses now in order to put together these kind of sophisticated chatbots. And we'll take a look at a video from IBM talking about their Watson chatbot. And when you're taking a look at that, consider that you can get almost those same capabilities now from half a dozen different companies at again, the price of a Netflix subscription for an entire company. And you can see how this is something that's really going to move forward. So we'll go ahead and watch that video from IBM, and then we will come back with our final item.
Technology is connecting us in ways we couldn't have imagined 10 years ago. Most of our relationships are digital, handled through messaging platforms, social media, and mobile apps, and we're always available. With this shift from in-person interactions to mobile, we're managing our daily lives from anywhere, at any time, giving us freedom in how we engage with brands. So how are companies building a consistent multi-channel experience that satisfies this need for autonomy? With bots, cognitive assistants that interact with people on their own terms. You can build one quickly and easily with Watson, creating a first-touch experience that can be deployed on any digital channel, empowering customers to address their issues whenever, wherever, and however they choose. Using advanced machine learning, Watson listens and understands what they're trying to do. And by offering the most relevant solution for their needs, it addresses issues promptly and personably, freeing up your employees to focus on the more difficult questions.
Okay, welcome back, and now we're going to come to that final item that I talked about, and that's what's called cloud to the edge. And I'm going to let the video, it's a section, about a 2-minute section of a keynote discussion, kind of get to the details. But the idea here is the idea of pushing cloud technology and accessibility of cloud technology from your core applications only, so all the way to everywhere in an organization, out including its mobile devices, and allowing that cloud technology to make everything accessible through the cloud so that local storage becomes less and less and less of an issue. And one of the things that's really going to enable this is the advent of 5G technology, which is going to provide mobile technology with the capability of broadband, real broadband level speeds. And once you have an iPhone or your tablet or even a wearable device, whether it be an ear wearable, an eye wearable, a wrist wearable, once you have those devices capable of broadband level speeds reliably, then you can give any of these devices the full capability of whatever software you're using. So this one again might be a little early. This may be something that begins in 2018. It's already begun, but begins to be more widely adopted, and then really starts rolling in 2019, 2020 onward. But it's definitely something to be looking at for any business of any size, to take a look at utilizing cloud technology to reduce the amount of money that you have to spend on hardware infrastructure. It will become less and less and less necessary for companies to have individual servers or even their own internal firewalls. It'll be a situation maybe beginning this year with early adapter type companies where you can run a business, a high level business, with nothing but some tablets and mobile phones, and have the same level of capability that a company would have otherwise. You'll find a lot of these new millennial startups, very often, you take a look at their desk and it's just a charging station for their mobile. And that's the only device that they really need or use because it provides them all the functionality that they have to have. Now, obviously, once you get into spreadsheets and financial projections, the traditional business model seems to require that we have to have a gigantic screen to do that. But there's no reason why a mobile device, especially an iPhone 10 or a Galaxy 8, has as much computing power, and in many cases more, as any laptop that you could have bought even 10 years ago, and has definitely as much computing power as a bargain basement laptop has now. You've got more power in your pocket than you have in your laptop if you're running around with a Chromebook. So that's why you'll see this idea of cloud to the edge continuing to take shape, because it's that edge computing, that idea of the mobile devices, the not physical connected devices, that are going to be shouldering more and more and more of the load of businesses, whether they be a small business or whether they be a global multinational enterprise. So we're going to go ahead and have the last video discussing that. It's a segment of a keynote. I thought it was pretty interesting, and then we'll come back, finish up, and have a word from our sponsor.
So cloud computing up until now, as you're all familiar with, has mainly been focused around, we generate data with devices, my mobile device, we send that into the cloud where it's stored, and then we use compute cycles to do analytics and extract value. Lots of examples of this. This is the world that we're all very, very familiar with. And as we look forward, we're going to see that sort of storage, computation, and analytics capability extend out. It's going to extend out to the edge and to the things themselves. If you think back to those examples I gave of where this data is being generated, think of the autonomous car as a great example. That's going to start to look like sort of a mini data center, mini cloud on wheels. It's going to have all of those capabilities to store and do computation and analytics locally, as well as being connected to the cloud to do other computation and analytics. If you're in a car and you've got cameras and radar and LiDAR and you're gathering all that data, you need to make real-time decisions on how to steer the car. And you can't send that data up to the cloud and wait for an answer back on which way to turn. That's just not going to work, right? The latency requirement is way too tight to ever do that. And yet, of course, you're going to be using lots of cloud services as well. So you'll have that sort of rolling data center device that's kind of a combined edge device doing a bunch of computation that architecturally kind of looks like a data center. And you're going to need a lot of those same capabilities, but at a different scale. If you think about the connected factory or the connected hospital, you're going to have a whole collection of devices that live inside of those environments that maybe aren't capable of doing a bunch of compute themselves, but you'll see them connected to local edge devices that are going to do some local analytics. Maybe you don't want to send all of the patient data into the cloud because of privacy concerns. You're going to want to do some analytics on that locally, and then some of that data will go to the cloud. So we're evolving to this architecture where you've got storage, compute, and analytics distributed across the end-to-end network. And that's going to drive a need for some new capabilities and new technologies.
Okay, and I hope that was useful, and I hope everyone found everything that we talked about today to be at least informative. It may not be something that's that affects your business right now, but it's something that's going to affect, every one of them are things that are going to affect the way business as a whole is done. So being aware of and prepared for those technology trends is always critical for any business to be ahead of their competition and fully successful. So I want to thank everyone for spending the time with me today. Ran a little bit long, but it's a pretty important topic, and I think some good information across the board. We're going to go ahead and finish up with a few words from our sponsor, Atlantic IT, and then we'll sign off. So we want to take a moment to thank our sponsor, Atlantic IT. Atlantic IT is located in Somerset, New Jersey, and provides service to companies from the New York metropolitan area all the way to Washington, D.C., providing IT outsourcing services from the simplest thing of basic network monitoring all the way to providing a completely full-service IT department 24/7 for companies of any size. So, if you have any IT needs, from the simplest to the most complex, Atlantic IT has over 30 years of experience providing managed services to companies in the Mid-Atlantic region, and you can count on them to provide the services you need. We here at Innovations in Business Technology are very grateful to Atlantic IT for providing us with sponsoring, and we hope that you will reach out to them if you have any needs in that area. Okay, and thanks once again to Atlantic IT for making this show possible. Thank you everyone for watching. This is Big Troy with Innovations in Business Technology.